Our mental strengths. Prentice Mulford. Every thought we entertain is a brick with which we build our destiny for better or worse. Our thoughts shape not only the expression on our faces, but also define our entire being, our behavior, our presence, and even the very form of our bodies. The laws that govern perfect beauty and perfect health are the same, both entirely dependent on our state of mind, or more precisely, the consistency of the primary thoughts we project to others and that we receive in return. Today, the immense power of thought is not only squandered, but often misused. Through ignorance and ingrained habits, we direct our mental energy down harmful paths. We accumulate greed, envy, scorn, and other negative emotions, only to unleash them, passing the true substance of our thoughts through flawed conduits, often harming others, but always damaging ourselves. The thoughts of others can infiltrate our being just as toxic gases can seep into our homes. To break free from the bondage of negative influences, repeat this mantra constantly. I will not be enslaved by anyone. This will empower you to liberate yourself from enslavement, dependence, and begging. Depending on the fabric from which our daydreams are woven, we will furnish our destiny with either gold or explosives. The deeper our dreams, the more perfect our introspection and abstraction, the more effectively our mental strength can influence the world, even across thousands of miles. What we refer to as hidden forces, such as telepathy, is generated in this way. Any form of thought can manifest instantly if it is imbued with sufficient intensity. Everyone possesses these forces potentially, but how we use them shapes our reality. Each day we stylize a phase of our being, adopting a different imagined persona. The role we play most often will imprint itself on our physical form, shaping the dominant expression we present to the world. Those who spend their lives habitually complaining, filled with bitterness and lamentation, poison their blood, distort their features, and darken their understanding. In the invisible laboratory of their spirit, a malevolent agent is being brewed. Once thought is put into action, once it is thought, it generates an inevitable law that attracts similar thoughts from the surrounding environment. Giving in to a mood of irritation and helplessness means opening the door to the thoughts of every irritated and helpless person in the city, charging your spiritual magnet with harmful, destructive currents and connecting your mental battery to all the negative energies of the same kind. Someone who harbors thoughts of theft and murder enters into spiritual contact with all the thieves and murderers across the globe. We all end up becoming what we are accustomed to seeing ourselves as, and we must not allow others to mold us according to their thoughts, shaping us in a way that suits their convenience. Hence the ideal of the good child or the exemplary spouse. True femininity will only be understood when women begin to act for themselves. When this happens, the world will suddenly be twice as rich, psychically, as it is now, where men, in their pursuit of an exclusively masculine ideal, have imposed a forced ideal of femininity. People who are always cautious, who anticipate and weigh every possible difficulty, often fall into the very traps they try to avoid. Constantly expecting difficulties means creating them, a habit so ingrained it seems impossible to eradicate. Whatever you think about attracts more of the same from the invisible. Meditate deeply on any type of crime, and you will draw towards you the realities of crime from the hidden side of life. These hidden and invisible forces create the material conditions for crime, paving the way for it to manifest in this world. If every morning you eagerly read about murders, thefts, scandals, and tragedies occurring on land, sea, and air, you are attracting something invisible of the same kind. You tune into lower spiritual events that pass through you and act upon you, increasing your physical exposure to them. In other words, you heighten your chances of being touched by something from this realm of conflict, especially if you do this habitually, perhaps even while in a state of passive absorption, like during breakfast. Perhaps the so-called savvy modern man isn't as wise as he thinks, especially when compared to the primitive, esoteric peoples of the East, who prefer to greet the morning with a hymn to the sun or a mantra like Om Mani Padme Hum, rather than consuming the filth of daily news. Everything is real, flowing in the invisible, And those who immerse themselves in these currents of the lowest, most horrible, and meanest thoughts, even as mere spectators who believe themselves safe from the fray, will eventually be swept away. Once the circuit is closed, the current of evil and crime is allowed to flow through. Those who take pleasure in reading about robberies and thefts are more likely to attract the same towards themselves and their homes. The person and the thief are drawn to each other because they are both swimming in the same river of thought, unaware of the power that binds them. There is no power more compelling than the one we are unaware of, for it operates unchecked within us. When someone, even for a mere 10 seconds, conjures up a thought of something dreadful, something that could plunge another soul into despair, they have already set in motion a force that will, in part, rebound upon themselves. Conversely, if someone, for just 10 seconds, envisions something kind and loving, something that would bring joy to another person without any sting or shadow, they too set a force in motion, a force that will also reflect back upon them. The more we focus our senses on an object, be it for good or ill, the more its unseen reality is strengthened, until finally, nourished by a continual stream of thoughts, it will mature into a visible agent of either joy or sorrow. In the world around us, which is but the densest level of the invisible world, orienting the mind towards a goal willingly and without hesitation, creating a desirable and joyful atmosphere for an indefinite period, is something that is scarcely practiced. What occupies the minds of those around us? Thoughts of making money, the quality of the beer they drink, perhaps planning a trip or the next fashionable purchase. Women often think of the latest trends, the tailor, the bridge game, or the upcoming summer vacation. Their thoughts are clouded by a hazy backdrop of half-formed desires, lacking the strength to confront life directly, instead filling countless mornings and afternoons with idle distractions, days that could and should be seized by the throat and made to yield something more substantial. The mood we dwell in has the power to orchestrate events in our favor or against us. For example, there are those born with a soul but without drive, without direction, who cannot care for themselves or preserve what they have inherited. They are classic examples of a mindset destined to fail. On the other hand, some are born into poverty, yet manage to accumulate wealth from the start because they focus all their thoughts and will on a specific goal and succeed, if accumulating money can be considered success at all. Every great enterprise begins with imagination. Those who rise from humble beginnings to become the owners of vast enterprises always keep their vision ahead of their current situation. The moment they achieve one goal, they are already reaching for the next. Someone who spends years as a rag picker, never seeing themselves in any other light, will remain a rag picker for life. They may envy those in better positions, longing for what others have, but they have never declared to their own soul, "I will rise above this. I will achieve something purer and higher than collecting rags." Mere envy does not propel one forward, and so they remain where they are. Those who are content to see the finer things in life as unattainable, who sit on the first rung of the ladder grumbling at those above them, will likely remain there. Whatever spiritual stance we adopt, if we remain in it long enough, it will steer us towards aspects of life that reinforce that stance. Those who decide to start a business, create an invention, or pursue any goal are shaping something out of invisible elements, something as real as any machine made of iron or wood. In turn, this business or plan will attract more favorable forces towards its realization, forces that will materialize in the visible world. But those who fear misfortune, who live in constant dread of encountering bad luck or an accident, are building a world of thoughts that attract a silent force, which, according to the law of attraction, gathers harmful and destructive elements around them. Both success and failure originate from the same law, a law that can either benefit the one who tries to save a drowning person or the one who stabs that same person. Every time we think, we are crafting something out of invisible ingredients, forces that can either benefit or harm us, depending on the thoughts we have previously sent out into the world. The cornerstone of all successful endeavors, in this life and any other, is to never think that something is impossible, to never dismiss an idea outright, no matter how wild or improbable it may seem. Wait until your instincts have gathered, for they are not always present when you need them. Only then might you catch a glimpse of that delicate dawn mist, a miracle so grand and pure that it could be seen by all humanity, yet would vanish in the blink of an eye, passing without obstruction into the collective consciousness of mankind. The more outlandish and fantastical a thought may seem, the more time we must give it to work its magic. To cry impossible simply because something appears beyond our reach is to cultivate the damaging habit of dismissing possibilities at their very inception. Our consciousness can act as a prison, its doors tightly shut against the infinite, leaving us small and solitary, both within and outside its confines. Yet, the true power of our mindset cannot be overstated. Regardless of what happens in our lives, the cause can always be traced back to a long-practiced state of mind. Those who silently, yet steadfastly, harbor a deep desire to succeed draw from the unseen realm countless supporting forces, just as an unborn child drinks from its mother's blood. According to a higher plan, this silent yearning pulls in every element necessary for growth, ensuring that at each stage of development, the spirit is nourished and strengthened. For the fortunate, the entire universe becomes like a nurturing womb, feeding their actions with these auxiliary forces that include an ever-increasing spiritual fertility and the discovery of new paths and means to achieve their goals. This is why we often say that things seem to happen by themselves. Language has long known this, and we instinctively use this great creative phrase, "It is done," with perfection, though we often fail to bring it into practice. In truth, these auxiliary forces ensure that we will always encounter the right people to carry our plans forward. Never waste your energy trying to hunt down these forces with your physical senses. Instead, let your unconscious take the reins. Your only task is to create the proper environment for your intentions, just as a pregnant woman allows her child to grow naturally according to its secret inherited laws. In the end, it is these laws that bring the new being into the light. The mother's role is simply to maintain a state of hopeful expectation. Similarly, the spirit must behave during the gestation of a plan. Think continuously, "I am resolved, I will move forward," and let this thought permeate not just your mind and heart, but every action and every cell of your body. This will generate a force that can carry any idea into reality with the same certainty that a crane lifts its load. The forces born with the spirit in the invisible realm continue to work even when the body is unconscious. To the one beloved by God, gifts are given even in sleep. They awaken to find all paths open before them, with a multitude of new plans and methods converging toward their cherished goal. These new ideas will spur the body into action because at that point it will be impossible to remain still. You will see in advance how everything will come together. This is the moment to act with speed and certainty. However, it is also possible that before reaching this level of readiness, one might become so exhausted from continually searching for opportunities that they lack the freshness needed to seize the liberating idea when it finally appears. All successful enterprises rely on a continuous flow of new plans, thoughts, and inspirations. Dwelling on thoughts of misery, calamity, and crime only undermines our ability to attract good things. It is like stealing money from your own wallet and health from your own body. When you surround yourself with greatness and vitality, well-being can grow almost without limit. Even if not in reality, then at least in your imagination, you can journey to a world filled with wild animals, forests, and young, free oceans. If you are not fortunate enough to have dogs, deer, or birds as companions, at least dream of them. If you feel oppressed and weak and cannot leave the city, let your spirit soar into the storms and tides, or visit a circus and immerse yourself in the spectacle of what beautiful horses, agile acrobats, and clowns can do. Notice how in this atmosphere of psychic diversity, the audience's worries are unconsciously wiped from their faces. The driving force of a positive mindset is not the yearning for material objects, for yearning is always accompanied by impatience and suffering. Impatience steals away what you desire, or at the very least delays its arrival. When you think, "I want it now, I am tired of this endless waiting, now or never," you are on the wrong path. You waste your energy in battles and disputes because what you desire has not yet come to you. Instead of focusing your energy on the desire itself, where it should be working, you concentrate on the absence of what you want, thereby reinforcing its very absence. Never let a desire take you too far. Do not allow a longing to break your heart, for doing so would be akin to someone in a fit of anger destroying their car because it got stuck in the mud. Instead, use your strength to pull the car out of the mire. Yet, even if one manages to avoid shattering the cradle of their yearning, they must be wary of falling into another trap, one that is seemingly understandable but no less dangerous. This mistake is seeing yourself in the desired situation from a shallow perspective, as if you have already reached your goal, as if it were merely an image or even an idealized picture of yourself. Imagine someone who longs to own a beautiful and unique home to share with a loved one. It will not help them to envision their life in this home as if it were a movie playing out before their eyes. They should not view it from the outside, as if gazing into a mirror. Instead, they must place themselves within the experience, fully inhabiting the self they wish to become. Otherwise, they will remain only a spectator to their own dreams. Expressed in words, the true inner power of the spirit might be something like this. My pure and joyful self is also complemented by these external things. I need to have this home around me, this loved one by my side, and I will achieve it, provided that there is a wiser will than my own that has determined it will be for my good. This must be a state that flows from the heart, wholly positive, and at the same time sweet, sunny, and resolute, never accompanied by doubt, irritation, or impatience. To maintain this proper state of mind, it is neither necessary nor advisable to keep the desired outcome constantly at the forefront of your thoughts. What truly attracts success, beauty, and joy is our habitual state of mind, not the continuous thinking about the object of our desire. If you can anchor this mental state within your heart and calmly tell yourself, I will travel, I will see the most beautiful tropical lands, then you can peacefully set that desire aside for a time, occupying yourself with other pursuits and planting seeds for other desires in different fields without delaying the force that will bring about that journey. Whenever the wish to explore exotic places resurfaces, all you need to do is reintegrate it into the steadfast determination of your unbreakable will to achieve it. Nothing influences the success or failure of any desire more than our prevailing mood. Not hard work, intelligence, sharpness, or diligence. Every spirit is a sum of psychic substances gathered from the infinite abyss of time, built from the experiences and memories of countless lifetimes. This psychic substance acts like a magnet. It has the power to attract and transmit thoughts and, like a magnet, to increase its strength through action. Just as any piece of iron can be magnetized by contact, any person, even one who lacks innate talent, can attract spiritual forces and thus become spiritually creative. The currents to which a person opens themselves will determine the quality of their spiritual charge. If a person radiates determination, hope, joy, strength, courage, justice, patience, order, and precision over time, they will attract more of these thought elements from their environment. The elements that already form the core of their success will create a magnetic whirlwind, drawing in similar forces at an ever-increasing speed, converging towards the center of their being. For these elements are now out in the world, attracting others of their kind. The people and circumstances we will encounter in the future, whether they are destined to uplift or destroy us, are connected to these elements with which our energies have already intertwined long before they came into physical proximity. What is the meaning of life? No one can truly assess the meaning of their own existence, as it is determined by a higher universal destiny, a law that governs and guides us. Where does it lead us? Toward an ever greater and limitless capacity for happiness. With each passing day and hour, we move closer to happiness, with increasingly sensitive, wise, and clear faculties, no matter how contrary the appearances may seem. The pain we endure is a result of the spirit's growth, which presses us more forcefully each day against the causes of our misery. This pain serves as an unmistakable signal, urging us to recognize that we are on the wrong path and that we must change course at any cost. For those who take this seriously, For those who seek the right path with all their heart, something will always appear to guide them. This is because one of the most subtle and profound laws of existence holds that no sincere plea can go unanswered. Every genuine desire, every fervent prayer must eventually bear the fruit that is sought. People who seem to be plagued by misfortune may often be the kindest and most gentle souls, but they are also those who speak harshly to themselves. They fail to see where destiny is trying to lead them, like a horse trembling under the whip, unable to leap over an obstacle. Where there is suffering, there is a mistake. Where there is pain, something is amiss. Pain acts as a compass, guiding us to the islands of the blessed. Among the wise, there are some who live in such harmony with the infinite that the lines of their destinies no longer recognize the sufferings of the winding paths. Yet even these few sages consciously retain a small flaw, a slight weakness in their psyche, to keep a terrestrial compass that measures the smallest deviations from truth, where the needle reacts to the slightest error by manifesting physically. Every desire, whether merely thought or spoken, brings us closer to its fulfillment, with an intensity directly proportional to the strength of the desire and the number of people who share it. These individuals channel their spiritual functions into certain orbits, setting in motion every silent force of will that will help them shape what they long for. The secret of magic lies in humanity's ability to harness the most subtle and intense mental waves for their benefit. Happiness and health are woven into the very fibers of our being. We must envision our own image, free from all evil, week after week, month after month, and year after year, until this dream becomes a fixed idea, a second nature that continues to operate in the subconscious. Never anticipate illness or pain for tomorrow. No matter how much you suffer today, expect only health and strength for tomorrow. In other words, health, beauty, and strength must become your waking dream. For a dream expresses the correct mental state far more clearly than mere hope. Unconscious tyranny is the root of much suffering. Faith is the seed of all miracles, but both good and evil can sprout from this seed. From the seed of evil, a tree can grow, where every noisy bird of ill omen will nest. Our gloomy and cloudy imagination has faith in misfortune. When one of our organs causes us a slight discomfort, after a day or two, we start to expect that discomfort, and we begin to imagine that the organ is diseased. Then we hear that this ailment has a grand and dangerous-sounding name, which intensifies our belief in misfortune. Then comes the influence of others, friends and relatives, who worry and fret, reminding us of our condition. All of this traps us in a vicious cycle that weakens us even further. No one transmits their own image of strength and well-being to us. Instead, the imagination of illness reaches us from all sides, and the spiritual forces surrounding us act in the wrong direction. When a friend says goodbye with a sympathetic "get well soon" in a tone that seems to predict the worst, we absorb the substance of what they imply. Relatives who worry about us only contribute to our downfall. Those with whom we have only professional or business ties are of little consequence, but we must be careful about whom we share our most intimate moments with. When we let go, when we are in a passive state, if we share these moments with someone, man or woman, who is not on our level, we lose much spiritual strength in the endeavors we undertake, for that inferior person will divert our line of action or, at the very least, influence it. Thus, much depends on the person with whom we share our intimacy. These individuals carry elements that, for us, can mean life or death, courage or cowardice, security or insecurity. A sum of unconscious tyranny often emanates from family ties. Adult children frequently assign their parents roles in life that the parents are unwilling to occupy. The essence of this unspoken thought might be expressed as follows: "Our mother is too old to wear such bright colors," or "It would be ridiculous for our widowed mother to remarry," or "It's logical that our mother wouldn't want to attend our parties." This line of thought continues: "Mom doesn't want to participate in our gatherings. It's better for her to stay home and look after the grandchildren," or "It's time for Dad to retire from the business." When it comes to achieving results, no mental force acts with as much subtlety or power, for good or ill, as the stream of homogenized thoughts that, emanating simultaneously from several people, concentrates on producing the desired effects in a particular individual, whether consciously or unconsciously. This force acts and produces a result. If 3 or 4 people's opinions are directed towards the being who gave them life, whom they call mother, their collective strength will be powerful enough to place her precisely in the role most convenient for the children. This entire process of conventional thinking could be summarized as follows. Mom is getting older, and it's natural for her to gradually withdraw from active life and stay at home, where she can enjoy the company of other retired relatives and assert herself during times of illness or family events. Thanks to the effect of this unified sentiment, many mothers lose their privileges as individuals and behave exactly as their children unconsciously want them to. There are mothers who declare, "I don't care what happens to me as long as my children grow up healthy. Then I will have fulfilled my mission." Yet, a mother must be deeply aware of what her own future holds, for if her growth in wisdom and culture is stunted, so too will be the growth of her children. A good mother strives to earn not only the love of her children, but also their admiration. However, admiration and respect are reserved for those women who defend their place in life with strength, courage, and freedom, and who continue to grow relentlessly toward ever new goals. No mother can expect abundant love and respect from grown children if she has confined herself to a corner of the kitchen, morphing into a blend of nurse and nanny, teaching her family to use her as a beast of burden for all the real or imagined domestic calamities. This self-sacrifice, while often well-intentioned, leads to an unintended outcome. Many mothers find themselves dismissed or disrespected by their adult children, or simply pushed aside. Those who lower themselves so drastically, mistakenly believing they are doing their children a favor, often end up bitterly regretting that error. Anyone who constantly lets others dictate their actions, who abandons their own desires and goals, who lives solely to fulfill the wishes of others, gradually loses the right to make decisions for themselves. They accumulate so many outside influences that they eventually become an extension of those influences, a silent instrument obeying the unspoken will of those around them. Such a person becomes a relic, a helpless servant who gradually loses the physical and spiritual capacity to initiate anything. Like an old man no longer useful, sitting by the stove, tolerated more than loved, they fade away. Much of this deterioration and weakness, often attributed to age, actually stems from the negative influence of a group of spirits constantly competing with one another, consciously or unconsciously, to dominate. A man might manage his large business with vigor and joy, but as his sons increasingly interfere in the business, a quiet, youthful force conspires against him, creating a pressure that a single individual can hardly resist. This pressure is intense, continuous, and unrelenting, driving in a specific direction. Its effects are even more potent when the father is unaware of the pressure being exerted on him, unaware of the existence of this hidden force. All he notices is a growing sense of fatigue. The old energy fades, and he attributes it to the inevitable decline of old age. Spending even 10 minutes arguing with fate, or envying the happiness of others, generates a force within us that works to undermine our own fortunes. Every thought of envy or hatred returns to us like a boomerang. Harboring unpleasant feelings towards those who are prosperous is not only a waste of time, but it also invites misfortune and destroys the happiness that might have otherwise come our way. Many people who fall ill have unwittingly prepared their sickbed over years of mental labor, toiling toward this end without realizing it. Those who expect misfortune are calling out for it, and they will surely receive it. We must cut off the bad habits accumulated over a lifetime, the weakness born of low self-esteem. A person with low self-esteem is not as valued by others as someone who respects themselves. Without self-esteem, no one will be inclined to help you improve your position, and there will be no bundle of supportive thoughts to wrap around you. Many who examine their lives come to the conclusion that there are positions they would never dare to aspire to. Out of 10 women who wash dishes, 9 would never imagine themselves as managers of the hotel chain where they are currently the most humble employees. Yet, occasionally, someone in a similar situation rises to a much higher position because they dared to envision it. This was the invisible driving force that led them to achieve it. If we are persistent, destiny will always guide us to where we want to be spiritually, and even if we do not reach the final goal, we will at least draw closer to it, attaining a position far better than being left stranded by the roadside without goals or ambitions. In the dance of life, the value you place on what you offer to the world becomes the melody others hear. When you doubt your own worth, you silently convince others to see your offerings as insignificant. Imagine standing on a busy street corner, trying to sell diamonds, yet your demeanor and self-doubt make others question their authenticity. Almost everyone will see nothing but glass, and even the one person who recognizes the gems will likely try to exploit your uncertainty. Never lower yourself in the presence of anyone. Doing so floods your spirit with a torrent of dependency that invites even more indignities into your life. Respect and admire the talents of others, but always from a position of equality, with the pure desire to awaken and nurture those same gifts within yourself. Teach your children to never think of themselves as worthless. If they grow accustomed to self-doubt, the world will follow suit, first seeing them as inferior children, and later as adults. Nothing is more damaging to a person than self-deprecation, and many children begin life burdened by constant criticism. Instead, teach them to dream, to believe in their own success, and to expect it. This repeated hope creates the right motivations, the right opportunities, and the right path to achieve their goals. Enduring injustice is more reprehensible than committing it, yet we all still believe in many lies. Error hides in the shadows, and so we live according to our subconscious mistakes, with suffering as their consequence. When we uncover hidden faults within ourselves, it is cause for celebration, not despair, just as a sailor rejoices upon finding the leak that could have sunk his ship. Once recognized, these errors can be subdued through self-awareness, and overcoming the stubborn pride that prevents us from seeking escape marks a significant step toward eternal happiness. Dwelling on our faults, however, is destructive to both psyche and health. The true nourishment for the spirit lies in the continuous renewal of thoughts, in our ever-changing interpretations of the world within and around us. Learn to see everything with fresh eyes each day, to revisit your plans, opinions, and goals with a renewed spirit at the end of each day. This mindset allows the spirit to receive the daily bread that renews our body and mind. Yet humanity is plagued by its favorite fears of pain, death, loss, and countless trivialities. The streets are full of people who, lacking anything more substantial to fear, fret over missing the next bus or train. The more sensitive the person, the more they suffer under these currents, until they learn to build a wall of positive thoughts, a fortress against the world's anxieties. Everyone has their pet fear, whether it's a disease they've never had but always expect, or something whose loss would devastate them. Even the smallest incident or casual word can bring this fear to the forefront, and after years of conditioning, it becomes a storm that ravages the body and mind. Sensitivity, while often a sign of spiritual development, can also make one more susceptible to absorbing harmful mental energies. Relationships with unsuitable people are one of the main sources of these ills, and the more refined the feminine spirit, the more exposed it is to these shadows and mental rays. A man absorbed in his affairs may sometimes muster enough positive energy to repel these currents, but a woman confined within the walls of her home often suffers far more than her husband can imagine. Men may wonder at the perpetual illnesses, fixed ideas, and nervousness that plague their wives, not realizing the unseen forces at play. When you're irritated, you diminish your attraction to the good, and the same happens when you're depressed, dependent, nervous, or confused. In these states, your energy flows in the opposite direction, toward negativity, coveting another's possessions, scheming for an inheritance, feeding worries, or even harboring envy and hatred. All these foster a mental state that blocks the creation of powerful positive energy. Engaging in malicious gossip, or even indulging in the foolishness of the majority, though it may seem harmless, drains your power. Even if your cleverness wins you small victories, it ultimately weakens you, preventing you from establishing a stronger, more liberated stance in life. To truly connect with others, directly from core to core, leaving behind all superficialities, one must rise above petty concerns. Resist the temptation to absorb the negative energies of the world. Instead, shield yourself with goodwill, combating every shadow of hate, indignation, and disdain. If you must engage with those who exude negativity, be proactive. Project positivity from the outset, rejecting their influence within yourself. By doing so, you maintain your strength, keeping your confidence untainted by their skepticism, and your resolve unmoved by their doubts. A person who still knows when they are lying remains relatively authentic. In them, lies are contained within awareness, much like a parasite encapsulated within flesh. However, most people are so thoroughly infected by falsehoods that they can no longer distinguish between truth and deception. The essence of a lie goes beyond the conscious act of speaking falsehoods. It encompasses all forms of deceit, including self-deception. When a lie, even one believed in good faith, takes root within us, it obstructs the constructive forces of truth just as any other lie does. Lies that are barely held together can sometimes be sustained by the fresh blood of truth, just as a dwindling breed of rabbits might be saved from extinction by introducing new pure bloodlines. Yet the most insidious lies are those that are only partially true. For example, when we welcome someone into our home while secretly wishing they were far away, or when we force a smile we don't mean, pretending to care for someone's well-being only because they have money, hoping to benefit from it, or when we join a religion or association, not out of genuine belief, but for status or gain. These small examples, drawn from the jar of everyday lies that often go unnoticed, create a malaise that can even affect the body. It's like alcohol, not the occasional excess, but the small, continuous doses of poison ingested daily without realizing it, that slowly damage the organism until it becomes saturated and falls ill, eventually succumbing because lies, by their very nature, cannot endure. The fabric of deceit must eventually deteriorate, allowing the spirit to find the right tools to achieve its purpose, even if that means another failed incarnation. What we perceive as evil or decay is often nothing more than infinite consciousness, withdrawing from a position that has become unsustainable. Another grave consequence of lying is that it traps us within the circle of other liars, to whom we are more likely to relate than to someone honest, simply because of an inner kinship. The cunning businessman in one field is often deceived by an equally cunning businessman in another, as they both harbor a silent disdain for authenticity and integrity. There exists an unspoken antagonism, a clash of energies without a word being spoken. The lies we contribute daily to the cosmos, in the form of words, actions, and presence, pale in comparison to the lies we unconsciously believe, allowing them to operate within us and influence those around us with the best of intentions. This psychic plague manifests in various forms: the graying of hair, the deepening of wrinkles, or any sign of cellular decay, all material expressions of underlying misconceptions that have temporarily taken hold in the consciousness. The fact that people today need to consult a doctor about what to eat, doctors who often know as little about nutrition as their patients, is a sign of how disconnected we have become from our natural instincts. This alienation is seen in nature only among certain degenerate predatory ants, which, unable to find food for themselves, must rely on enslaved ants to feed them. At most, a doctor knows something about diseases, but rarely anything about health, because health, in its true sense, is a rarity. Throughout their career, doctors rarely encounter normal, healthy people, which contributes to the alarming statistics regarding daily protein requirements, figures invented by the brilliant but misguided experiments of scientists like Liebig, who tested his theories on a group of German students with large beer bellies, inefficient engines that needed 3 times the fuel due to their poor diet. As a result, for over 30 years, toxic levels of protein were administered across Europe, especially to children, spreading conditions like acute appendicitis, gout, and other metabolic diseases. The moment we recognize a problem, we are already halfway to curing it. When a negative mood overcomes us, It's crucial to understand that we are being influenced by an external negative current, connected to countless other dark and sullen spirits who amplify these repulsive states of mind until they become unbearable. What we must do is pray, ask for the strength to break free from this stream of negative thoughts. We need to purge our consciousness of everything unpleasant and incomplete, the negative traits of others, the ugly and unpleasant aspects of our surroundings, because if we don't, these thoughts will persist, eventually manifesting in their specific forms. Those who consistently imagine others at their worst will likely find themselves replicating those same mistakes. Everything must be expressed as it naturally wants to be. Let everyone develop the habit of transforming their thoughts into words, because, in doing so, they become more tangible and can be dealt with through physical means. The soul's expression is deeply tied to the power of words. When one exchanges night for day, they miss the most crucial appointments with the subconscious, depriving themselves of the tranquility that accumulates inner strength. In all of nature, periods of intense activity are followed by complete rest. Plants pause their growth in winter, animals hibernate, and even the earth waits patiently for new seeds. If humans could occasionally surrender to this perfect stillness, those who absorb the hidden power of the sun would shine in a spiritual and physical renaissance. New senses and strengths would awaken within them, senses whose existence many still deny. The wisdom of the East lies in their mastery over these new senses, a mastery born from a life of inner stillness. Though they may lack the brute force of a conqueror, and India may be under the rule of England, in the end, they have subtly conquered Western culture. We now find ourselves at the feet of India, learning our first lesson, the alphabet of laws and forces unknown to our so-called wise men. These forces, cultivated by silent spirits, harmoniously aligned toward a single goal for thousands of years, challenge our Western superstition that nothing can be achieved without haste, nervous energy, and exhaustion. Nature demands rest to undertake the work of regeneration. This law, which operates in the simplest forms of life, applies equally to the highest forms. In every person's life, there are periods when all their strengths and faculties show signs of fatigue, indicating that they are undergoing some process of transformation. Nature puts them in dry dock, so to speak. If we only followed these laws, within weeks or months, we would emerge from these periods renewed in body and soul. For nature asks nothing more of us than to remain silent while she completes her regenerating work. We often speak of midlife as a time when one's vitality and strength have peaked, and that from then on, they will naturally wither and decay like leaves in autumn. This unshakable belief in aging will indeed make us old. In truth, this change at life's peak is simply our body's way of signaling that it wants to renew itself, to be reborn. This rebirth demands absolute stillness because our highly spiritual self is working to bring about this transformation. During this time, we should not exert ourselves excessively, much like in early childhood. Yet, we generally deny nature this rest, forcing our exhausted bodies to undertake efforts for which they are not prepared during this critical period. While nature tries to give us new life, we thwart her efforts and destroy ourselves. Most people are incapable of granting themselves the tranquility they need. They feel compelled to move about and work year after year to secure their existence. This changes nothing in the grand scheme. Christ, Moses, and all the prophets and magicians accumulated psychic energy in stillness, which once concentrated could revive a dying person. In the story of Martha and Mary, the latter chose the better part because, away from domestic chores, she accumulated a force that, when well directed, achieved more in seconds than Martha could with her daily toil. While Martha wore herself out with work, Mary rejuvenated herself. The culture of tranquility enhances our presence of mind. Presence of mind is nothing more than the ability to mobilize at any moment all our knowledge, capacity for action, firmness, and tact. Its value lies in the simultaneous presence of these qualities, which, in calm spirits, are concentrated rather than scattered by chasing after 1,000 different things at once. Whoever can conserve their strength and rest their spirit will have nerves of steel, emanating a magnetic fluid capable of taming even the wildest horse. Courage is an insurmountable magnetic cloud with limitless possibilities. We can make our bodies capable of withstanding any material influence. We can make each of our organs 10 times more resilient than they are now. Where there is haste, there is always a trace of fear. Those who run for a train do so because they fear being left behind, and that fear increases the likelihood of missing it. Those who rush to a meeting or appointment do so because they fear the negative consequences of arriving late. It is astonishing how much we spend daily on fears. Through unconscious training, these small psychoses can flood a person's spirit to the point where they constantly fear losing something, even when no real risk exists. For example, running desperately after a tram as if it were irreplaceable when another one will come along in a few minutes is irrational. Yet the fear of waiting for those few minutes becomes a mountain, a terrifying possibility simply out of habit. This catastrophic mindset, a relentless companion through meals, walks, vacations, and every endeavor, clouds the mind with a thick fog of fear. It's the fear of unbidden thoughts, the inability to control the geyser of anxieties that erupts from our vulnerable selves, staining our everyday lives with a dull grey crust. This unconscious conditioning plunges our spirits into a chronic state of panic, where even trivial events trigger overwhelming dread, fostering disappointment where none exists. Cultivating fear in any form constructs a dead-end alley where, in life's defining moments, only terror can navigate. Never let the pursuit of wealth or possessions eclipse your health. It's like cutting off your feet to buy a new pair of boots. Every endeavor can be approached without haste, exhaustion, or robotic efficiency. Torment is a signal that something is amiss in your undertaking. True power arises from the harmonious, playful collaboration of mind and body. 2 hours of focused, well-trained effort can accomplish more than 10 hours of frantic rushing. In these moments of tranquility, parents should be free from the demands of their adult children, just as birds and forest creatures are unburdened by their offspring. Only human mothers remain perpetually subject to the demands of their children, reaching the grave exhausted and depleted. They deserve liberation, a return to the carefree state they enjoyed before motherhood. Motherhood is a vital phase of human existence, fostering growth and understanding, but we shouldn't remain trapped in a single experience for a lifetime. True connection between people is the most potent source of happiness, health, and success. This connection transcends physical proximity, depending instead on the intensity of our mental engagement. Social relationships are an ongoing dance of tolerance, a repetitive cycle of words, gestures, and thoughts. True, vibrant life is a kaleidoscope of experiences, an open flow of spiritual currents where kindred spirits exchange energy and ideas. These are the wellsprings that ascend to the eternal. An obsession with cheapness aligns with fear and misfortune, never reaching the currents of enterprising spirits and victorious forces. Those who dwell in these currents never meet. To approach life's victors, one must shift their spiritual direction. Those who gather to spew curses and envy will find that negativity rebounding upon them with tenfold force, attracting the very thoughts they exude. We absorb the flaws and imperfections of others when we fixate on them mentally. Scandal and reveling in others' shortcomings offer a fleeting thrill, akin to champagne, but ultimately come at a high cost. Sympathy is power. Active listening acts as a tonic, and the goodwill of a single person free from envy and mockery is an irresistible force whose value transcends monetary measure. Wishing ill upon another creates an invisible wall that silently reflects that negativity back to its source. Only a steady stream of kindness can deflect this effect without consequence. This is why creating enemies is so perilous. Even when justified, every heated argument, every family feud, every clash between individuals pollutes the unseen with destructive energy. If the slightest annoyance triggers your ire, you unwittingly position yourself in the path of this negativity. A fleeting outburst of frustration can stir up a hornet's nest, leaving you trapped in a storm of your own making. The only escape is to shift your focus, to redirect your spiritual energy. Allow yourself a brief, satisfied glance over your shoulder at the chaos you've narrowly avoided, now left drenched and sputtering in the wake of your inner composure. Just as there are poisoned metal vapors and toxic arsenic, there are poisoned spiritual currents. Spending even an hour passively in a room filled with envious, hateful, or downtrodden individuals exposes you to a miasma of negativity, far more insidious than any chemical toxin. Its effects are subtle and mysterious, often manifesting days later and misattributed to other causes. Hatred is rampant today, transcending social classes and political affiliations. It flows vertically, horizontally, and diagonally, a network of animosity coursing through the veins of humanity. We must be particularly vigilant during meals. Eating, the intake of sustenance for our bodies, should be a peaceful, balanced, and joyful experience. Complaining, arguing, or conducting business while eating disrupts the necessary state of receptivity. Whether these distractions are voiced aloud or confined to thoughts is irrelevant. Both are detrimental. Sharing a meal with someone who fosters negativity demands inner strength and outward tolerance, draining precious energy. Ideally, we should only dine with those who radiate genuine goodwill. When individuals gather with a shared intention, the space becomes charged with their collective energy. If this intention is focused on power and assistance, the space becomes a reservoir of strength and support, benefiting those who enter with an open heart. Over time, such a space can evolve into a potent spiritual accumulator, provided it remains uncontaminated by baser thoughts and intentions. This accumulated power can heal the sick, bolster the weak, and uplift the depressed like invisible rays of light. However, no one should linger too long, lest fatigue or negativity taint the space. We all crave companionship where we can be authentic, at least one person with whom we can shed our masks and express our true feelings without fear of judgment. We need moments where we can relax our mental vigilance, speak freely without the pressure to impress. The art of forgetting is vital. Even the happiest life contains countless experiences best left in the past. Even joyful memories can become stale. Our circle of friends should expand and evolve, each day filled with more excitement than the last. Forgetting creates space for new thoughts and, consequently, a new life. Clinging to past or present happiness, even in its most beautiful form, will eventually lead to stagnation. Forgetting doesn't mean complete annihilation. That would be impossible, as we are the sum of our experiences. Every scene, scent, word, and moment is woven into the fabric of our being, even if hidden beneath the surface. Yet it's wise to bar certain memories, particularly those fueled by ego and obsession, from crossing the threshold of our consciousness. A true experience is one we've forgotten. Those who strive for perfection must learn to balance their burdens. Some replay old battles in their minds, relishing imaginary victories over past adversaries. While these mental skirmishes may offer a fleeting sense of triumph, they come at a steep cost. Dwelling on revenge on past grievances is to operate on misdirected energy. No one can sustain a vibrant, healthy body while feeding on the decaying thoughts of their past selves. The fresh influx of the future becomes ensnared in the sticky web of the soul, hardening the flesh, bones, marrow, and blood into a rigid shell. The weight of this ever-growing crust drags us into a state of weakness and despair. True rejuvenation comes to those who shed their worn-out armor and embrace the new with every youthful thought. These thoughts, in turn, shape the revitalized body that reflects their essence. Embracing death daily means recognizing that yesterday's thoughts belong to the past. Healthy, growing spirits shed a part of themselves at the end of each day, having lived it to the fullest. Clinging to old thoughts is detrimental. Just as the epidermis sheds countless cells daily to maintain its vitality, so too must we continually renew our thoughts. Otherwise, our mental and emotional well-being will suffer, hindering our growth and potential. Those who master the art of constant thought renewal can experience entire worlds in a single day. Their happiness transcends location and circumstance, even flourishing within prison walls. Conversely, those imprisoned by outdated ideas stagnate, even within a palace. This is the path to near-total independence from the physical, and independence is power. As long as we rely on external factors, people, substances, or stimuli, we remain enslaved. The key to liberation from both material and spiritual poverty lies in the ability to generate new thoughts continuously. However, even the most vibrant and fertile ideas must temporarily fade from our memory to achieve true mastery. For any endeavor, study, or skill to reach its peak, we must periodically forget it entirely. Otherwise, we risk confusing the journey with the destination, fixating on the path instead of the goal. This journey towards greater success may involve unseen helpers who possess a broader perspective. On this mysterious, unpredictable path, we are often blind, stubbornly clinging to familiar dead ends. Progress may seem elusive, but often circumstances are merely waiting for our understanding to catch up. When faced with persistent obstacles and setbacks, despite our best efforts, we should immediately cease all unnecessary activity. Instead, we should implore our spirit to release its obsession and trust in the mysterious force that underlies all genuine endeavors. Rest, nourish yourself, and seek enjoyment. Knowing you've done all you can, disconnect and let go. Our prevailing spirit and mood shape our physical form, influencing how others perceive us and, more importantly, how we perceive ourselves. They mold our gestures, expressions, and even our gait. The slightest muscle twitch reflects a specific state of mind or thought. A resolute spirit walks with purpose, while an uncertain one stumbles and hesitates. Determination infuses every muscle with invigorating energy, especially when directed towards a goal that benefits not only ourselves but others as well. Wise self-interest incorporates the well-being of others, recognizing that we are all interconnected. Within this spiritual unity flow currents of revitalizing energy that nurture what is good for the collective. Our individual journeys towards self-realization navigate these currents, propelled by the winds of shared purpose. We are all part of a vast, interconnected network, with countless invisible threads weaving through the space between us. Every negative thought sends a ripple through this web, affecting countless beings. To foster positive connections and fruitful exchanges, we must maintain the freshness and vitality of our thoughts. This is achieved through the art of forgetting, the ability to efficiently release spent or decaying mental and emotional energy. The art of forgetting is as crucial as the art of remembering. Old age often traps us in the past, where events and people trigger the same tired associations, replaying the same stories ad nauseum. Such a mind, starved of fresh ideas, decays and ultimately dies. Gradually, the spirit loses its grip on the body. Memory and senses falter, and limbs tremble. These are symptoms of a psyche deprived of its daily bread. New thoughts. To truly live, to grow stronger in mind and body with age, to navigate each stage of life with increasing grace, and to conquer our final adversary, death, we must continually purge old thoughts. Boredom is a disease, a gnawing emptiness that compels us to endlessly rehash the remnants of our past until everything feels stale and lifeless. Trying to kill time is an attempt to kill life itself. Those who succeed temporarily sever their connection to the infinite source, the wellspring of consciousness. This is the gravest affliction. Embrace success with serenity. Those willing to accept responsibility will achieve it. Those who shirk it remain pawns in the game of life. Dare to envision yourself leading a grand enterprise, managing vast sums, even if only within the confines of your imagination. This silent practice, safe from mockery, prevents you from settling for the bottom rung. The art of waiting, of patiently anticipating success, is the most potent and fruitful way to invest your mental energy. Obsessing over potential misfortunes and obstacles is a sure path to ruin. Responsibility doesn't necessitate worry, anger, or anxiety. A cultivated mind, trained to avoid fretting over the future, reserves thoughts of responsibility until they become necessary and productive. Discuss your grand plans regularly, but only with those who share your interests and goals. Choose a consistent time and place for these conversations, avoiding public spaces where secrets can be overheard, even unintentionally. As the proverb goes, walls have ears. In crowded areas, There's always an unseen agent eager to pilfer your confidential information. Reserve a peaceful room exclusively for these intimate discussions. Over time, this space will develop an atmosphere conducive to your plans, fostering inspiration and facilitating the flow of ideas. However, if anger or agitation intrudes, the space becomes tainted, negatively impacting all aspects of life. The ability to keep a secret significantly amplifies its power. Secrets whispered on the ether can manifest as rumors, even in seemingly empty rooms. To truly safeguard a secret, forget it. Let it dissolve in your consciousness, retrieving it only when absolutely necessary. Avoid toying with it even in your thoughts, for every thought is an action, temporarily projecting information into the shared mental space. Through repetition, a fleeting suspicion in another's mind can solidify into absolute certainty. Every great success has been shrouded in secrecy. Openly discussing your aspirations at the wrong time or place can trigger envy, conscious or unconscious, which, once alerted, will actively seek to thwart your progress. Countless fortunes have been lost due to careless words. When unsure how to proceed in a particular situation, simply wait. Cease your mental churning. It only strengthens your resolve and clarifies your objective. In this state of waiting, you become a magnet for helpful forces, arriving as insights, inspiration, coincidences, or opportunities. This isn't passivity. Your aspirations actively guide you towards the solutions you seek. Remember, the universe operates on a principle of reciprocity. You will receive in proportion to what you give. Never teach your child to despise themselves. This habit, once ingrained, invites the world to follow suit. Instead, instill in them the power of dreams and the expectation of success. This unwavering belief in a brighter future lays the groundwork for its realization. Choose your companions wisely. While professional and business connections may be less discerning, exercise caution when sharing your leisure time. The golden path often winds through treacherous terrain, and well-meaning family can inadvertently sabotage our happiness. Don't let today's pain or illness dictate tomorrow's expectations. Anticipate strength and resilience and view the world with clear eyes. Regularly reassess your plans, beliefs, and goals. Instead of dwelling on past mistakes, celebrate the lessons they offer, like a sailor grateful for discovering a leak that could have sunk their ship. The company we keep during leisure hours profoundly impacts us. They can inspire courage or cowardice, clarity or confusion. A person with low self-esteem will never be perceived as favorably as one who radiates self-love. Even doctors, experts in illness, often lack understanding of true health due to their limited exposure to the vibrant and well. Every thought is a building block in our unfolding destiny, for better or worse. Refuse to let others mold you with their thoughts for their own convenience. Overly cautious individuals, constantly anticipating difficulties, inadvertently create them. To launch any endeavor, start with imagination. Declaring something impossible simply because it seems so cultivates a destructive habit of self-limitation. Discuss your ambitious plans, but only with like-minded individuals. Focusing on a goal is a wise form of self-interest. Determination energizes every muscle, filling it with a revitalizing force. No one who feeds on outdated thoughts can maintain a youthful and vibrant body. Fear is simply another name for the inability to control the emergence of new thoughts. Only those who radiate genuine goodwill deserve a seat at your table. Courage is an impenetrable magnetic field. 60 seconds of daydreaming offer 60 seconds of profound peace for both body and soul. Embrace the present and anticipate an even brighter future. Family ties can be a web of unconscious tyranny. Those who travel widely, constantly encountering new places and people, possess a vitality often lacking in those who remain rooted in the same environment year after year. The contemplative life is a creative one. Don't be afraid to enjoy yourself. Heaven on earth is created by adopting the right attitude towards the everyday. Surround yourself with vibrant colors. What delights the eyes refreshes the mind, and a refreshed mind revitalizes the body. When you think bright thoughts, you attract bright things. Remember, Every thought of envy or hatred will boomerang back to you.